All right, Mike, we are now in the 1994. We're going to talk about TLC's Crazy Sexy Cool. And as we generally do on these shows, kind of want to start off, where are you in 1994? We have done a couple we've done some 90s albums, so I don't imagine it's much different from our previous discussions.
Have we
19
done more
1990
than one?
well, 1996, All Eyes on Me,
Oh yeah, okay, we've done two.
yeah,
All right, education.
in Lauryn Hill.
Yeah.
So, kind of close to the same age, but is there any difference here? I know that for me, it was, the year that I graduated high school, but you actually graduated high school a year earlier.
hmm
And how did that happen, by the way?
Um, I went straight in first grade. I never did kindergarten
So when you were 5, you went in as a first grader.
as a first grader. Yep.
So my stepdaughter, is now 10. She's gonna be 11 in a couple months. And when I met her, she was 4, and I would always joke with her, and I would say, "You know, you need to, like, graduate at 16 and go to college immediately, because then your mom and I don't have to deal with any kids in the house." It's always a joke, and with her, and then so I kind of revisited that. I was like, "All right, where are we now?" You got to be able to graduate high school at
Cool.
16. You're about to be in the 5th grade. And yeah, I don't think that's happening, though. I don't necessarily want that happening either. But how did that work for you? Like, did you feel younger? Did it feel awkward, or did you fit in fine?
I think looking back on it, it seems like it was a little awkward. I mean, I graduated high school like 3 weeks after I turned 17,
Mhm.
which now that you think about it is kind of crazy because all of my classmates were 18 and up
Yeah.
at that point. So, like when it was as it was happening, I was always very cognizant of the fact that I was the youngest person in the class,
Mhm.
but I didn't have like the emotional intelligence to know how it affected me. Now, with years of retrospect, I can be like, oh, maybe it would have been better to have me with kids my own age. But I think also part of that is I've always been comfortable with people who were not even just school, but my family dynamic. I've always been comfortable with around people who were a few years older, or
Mhm.
most comfortable with people who were a few years older.
I
So,
almost would have rather hung out with people a little bit older, but not, like a couple years older, more like 10 or 15 years older, just because the conversations that I wanted to have about specific subjects, nobody my age could kind of have those conversations, mostly related to sports. And so it was like my dad's friends or people like my dad's age. I could have those conversations with them, but I could also learn about history from them, and just people my age weren't really as interested in those things as I was.
right. So to basically answer your first question, uh, Crazy Sexy Cool came out end of '94. I was 18. I was already living on my own. Was living in an apartment with two roommates who were a couple. Shout out to Monica and Olga, wherever you are in the universe. Um, and I was working at Tower Records in New York City, so I was around people who were 5, 6, 7 years older than I was. Because the track that I was on as an 18-year-old, kind of living on my own, trying to figure stuff out, is the track a lot of the people I worked with were on as well because they were just getting out of college, moving to New York. They were 23, 24, 25 years old. So it's a very weird thing where we were sort of, I mean, we were certainly equals in terms of like job responsibility and stuff like that. But in terms of maturity, I was a year and a half out of high school, and these folks had had the whole college experience and all that other stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, so I would have, it was my, like I said, year of graduation, and then when this album comes out in November, I'm in my first semester of college, which was a very eye-opening experience, because I
Oh, I bet.
remember I remember being like getting like my first semester report card for college and just being like, "Huh, this was a lot harder than I realized it was going to be." And then also at that time sort of figuring out like, okay, like how I adapted in high school is a little bit different and how I'm going to adapt in college. And I'm going to figure this thing out the same way that I did in high school. And
Sure.
that first report card was the only report card I think in college that I had that actually had a C on it. I think I had like a C plus in like one of my classes, and I was like, okay, this is a little different. And then I figured it out, and so be it. As people do.
Do.
So 1994 also is a big year for me for athletics because being a high school senior and playing baseball, but it was also at the same time kind of a little bit of a come to Jesus moment of figuring out that, okay, my high school career is over. I had been playing baseball for my entire life to get up to this moment, and then it's over. And then what do you do? You're like, "Well, I did all
That's a
this."
crazy transition. It's a crazy transition, man.
And so what I decided to I just continued to play pretty much until I was, like, 29 years old. I just played every summer because it was like an extension of high school, and so I was able to play as an adult, like, and it's not as it's pretty competitive, obviously, but it's more people who want to play than, going through the high school system. So from an athletic standpoint, it was like it was my year, even though we sucked, but it really was my year as a baseball player. I was like, best player on my team and all that, but we were terrible, so it didn't really matter that much. But
So
yeah, 1994.
you were the what's my dude's name? Why am I blanking? You were the Cooper Flag of your team.
If I was the Cooper Flag of my team, I'd I, I'd be somewhere else right now.
We wouldn't be doing this podcast
Well, we
together.
might be doing it, but we might be doing it out of like a studio or something. I might be flying you
Hey,
in to do these episodes if
hey.
I was the Cooper Flag of my team. Okay, so the year that this album comes out, TLC is already a successful group because their previous album, Ooh, on the TLC tip, came out a couple of years earlier. And would that have been, gosh, 90? Was it 92 or 93 that came out?
It was 90, it was like spring 92.
Okay, because I remember, and this is how our when you're young and you have these landmark memories. This is how I remember the original TLC album. One, their videos were on MTV and they were colorful and young and a little bratty and hip, and I just like these three young ladies are like the coolest women out there. But I remember being in history class and there was a discussion with some guys going like, okay, who's the cutest out of all of the TLC members? And there was actually T-Boz looked a little older, and and the way that she looked wasn't really conventional to like a young kid's crush. But
Sure.
there was, because T-Boz has really nice features facially. She has like really smooth look to her, and so it's like, oh, there's some T-Boz votes, and there was some Left Eye votes. Left Eye had like that young, crazy energy, and I was like, guys, it's got to be Chilli. Like, what are you
It's
guys
got to be Philly.
thinking about? Like, what are you guys even talking about? Like, Chilli is clearly the most attractive of the three. So from then on, like, I was like a Chilli dude. Like, she was just my favorite. And there were moments in my young career where I was like, you know what? I might have to marry Chilli. Like, she's just that. She's just that person. By the way, fast forwarding like a bunch of years, did you ever watch that VH1 show of basically trying to find Chili a man?
Oh, that was a thing that existed. I want to say I watched it, but it's really fuzzy in my brain.
Our guy Usher was on it because they had their thing.
Right.
And I remember Floyd Mayweather was on it. They went out on a date and they went roller skating. I remember that.
Wow, I do not remember that at all.
Yeah. And you know who she's dating now? At least I'm
Is
pretty
she
sure.
She is very involved with Matthew Lawrence.
Matthew Lawrence.
All she has to do is go into the WB and throw in some brotherly love, and her man would have been right there.
I just watched Mrs. Doubtfire the other day.
That's right, he was in that.
Mrs.
I
Doubtfire.
forgot, completely forgot. I always think of Matthew Lawrence as like obviously Joey Lawrence's little brother, but
Right.
from like Give Me a Break in the
Right.
80s,
Right.
um, because they played characters on Give Me a Break named Joey and Matthew.
Yeah. When
Um,
we were watching Mrs. Doubtfire, Crystal, my wife, who's 5 years younger than me, she was like, "Is that Joey?" I was like, "No." You would know
no,
it was Joey because
Joey was already like full on
yeah,
whoa.
you would have gotten a whoa or two in that
Yeah,
movie.
but it's
Um,
funny. I mean, my initial so I didn't have MTV growing up. Uh, there was restrictions on what I could watch, and I was not allowed to watch cable without permission. So I didn't have MTV, but what we did have in New York City was a legendary show called Video Music Box, which was on public access TV. It was on Channel 31 UHF station, and it was basically 90 minutes of the latest like cutting edge New York centric like hip hop and R&B videos. It would air at I believe 3:30 Monday to Friday, and then air at noon on Saturdays. And like every new breaking like hip hop and R&B artist from like the mid 80s through like the mid 90s, their video, the first time I saw the video would have been on that show. So I remember seeing the Ain't Too Proud to Beg video and it being like super colorful, and all these girls and left eyes they were wearing the condoms and all that stuff.
yeah.
And you were right. I mean, it was very brash. It was very kind of in your face. And I remember, I can't completely verify this, but I remember reading or hearing that TLC was basically created to be a female Belle Biv DeVoe.
Yes. Yes. Which is perfect for us
Yes.
because
Yeah. I mean, seriously, right in the pocket. But also going back to your Chili story. So the company that I worked for at the time and still work for now put out the last TLC studio album.
oh wow.
And I never got to meet Tion or Chili, but Chili called the office one day and we put her on speakerphone. And I was like, oh my God, like, it's like and Chili still, I mean, she's in her mid 50s at this point. Looks like she hasn't aged a day in
No,
30
not at
years.
all.
So big shout out to Chili, whatever fountain of youth she, drinking from the Lenny Kravitz Pharrell fountain of youth.
Yeah, she looks amazing still.
Yeah.
Just incredible. So I just wanted to run down the quick and dirty version of the origin story of TLC and how they got together
Yeah.
because it is actually kind of interesting. Like the woman or the young lady at the time who was looking to put together the girl group is the one who kind of got aced out of the group.
The
So Crystal,
music business is a harsh thing,
yeah.
man.
So it was Crystal Jones who was looking to put together a group that she wanted to call Second Nature. So T-Boz joins, then Left Eye auditions and gets the second spot. And so then they, as the threesome, they get brought to Pebble, who's married
Married to L.A. Reid.
to
Hold
L.A.
on.
Reid, and Pebbles herself was an artist,
Yes. Do you want to ride in my Mercedes, boy?
giving you the benefit.
Yep. I got a Pebbles record. So, wait, hang on. What's did I put it in storage or do I still have it? There may or may not be a Pebbles record making an appearance. Nope, it's in the storage facility. Never mind.
So you have all of those records behind you,
Yeah.
and you have records in storage.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Wow. So Pebbles, she was the co-founder of LaFace. I mean, Ellie Reid was the
No, L.A.
co-founder
Reid
of
was the co-founder of
LaFace.
LaFace.
Pebbles
Yeah.
was
And
married
Pebbles was married to
to Ellie
him.
Reid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so she liked the idea of the group, but she wanted to rename them. So she renames them TLC for Tion, Lisa, and Crystal. So it works in that way. And then it was, I guess it just was figured out that maybe Crystal wasn't the right fit, and they replaced her. Enter Rosanda Thomas, and I think they just legit. They're just like, we're just gonna call you Chili so you can be
Yeah,
the C.
right. That's basically what they did.
Of all the like, couldn't be like Cutie Pie or like,
Yeah, just
Chili.
chili.
Do you think it was like ice cold, like chili, or like a bowl of chili? Like someone just saw her eating
I mean,
chili for lunch or something?
it's spelled more similarly to, I guess, actually, you can go either way.
Yeah.
I think somebody was just like, "Oh, she's chill. Let's call her Chili."
Okay. That works too. That works too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because being named after like Denison's chili beans or something,
Hey,
probably not
being
as not
you
as
don't wanna
cool.
be named after something that gives you the bubble
No,
guts.
no. That would have been actually a better origin story of the name though. It's like she just got like
Juicy.
she was a little windy one day, and they're like, what were you eating?"
Don't eat any more of that chili, girl.
Okay, so TLC, the name is still intact, and this is to me what made the group work so well is that T-Boz had this like raspiness, and then Chili would come in like with this more traditional sounding like pop R&B voice, like a little bit more smooth. And so I always thought the contrast with their voices actually worked out really, really well. And then
I
of course you
agree.
had Left Eyes rapping.
Yeah, they had very, at least T-Boz and Left Eye had very distinct voices. As I've been listening over the past week, T-Boz's voice is completely unique. And Left Eye, her rapping voice was almost like a cartoon, like it was super nasal and high pitched. So it had a lot of character to it. And I think that's ultimately what made them successful, is that their individual voices had so much character to them. And then Chili just was able to was able to bring like a very commercial pop piece to it.
So later, more towards the end of this show, I do want to go over like the industry and the music business and why they were unable to be successful as far as making money and why they were broke and all that, and you can help me with that because that is more to your expertise than to mine, so we'll save that to the end. But
All right.
a big part of their story is their inability to really create a living off of being just a really successful group we'll talk about that later. Okay, so let's go back to 1994, and I want to go through some of the things that were happening in music at this time, and Mike can crack wise on anything that he feels the need to. This is actually kind of sad one. The Supreme on January 24th, 1994, the Supreme's Mary Wilson is injured when her Jeep hits a freeway median, flips over. Her 14-year-old son is killed in the accident. Man.
Speaking of, yeah, that's horrible. First of all, speaking of girl groups, the girl group, I'm going to use this stupid pun, the supreme girl group of all
Mhm.
time, very much set a model for TLC. Also, if you are a reader, read any of Mary Wilson's books. She passed away just a couple years ago, but her books are amazing.
So then on February 11th, the three surviving members of the Beatles reunite to begin recording additional music for the unfinished John Lennon demos. Presented to Paul by Yoko Ono, with Jeff Lynne producing. The track Free as a Bird is eventually released as a single in late 95 as part of
Hmm.
the exhaustive Beatles anthology project.
Yeah,
And somebody who we've talked about on a episode of the Cool Check-In, Selena, on March 1st becomes the first Tejano music singer to win a Grammy Award. It was in the documentary that we talked about in that
yes,
episode.
indeed.
All right, 36th annual Grammys, hosted by Gary Shandling.
I remember that.
The soundtrack for The Bodyguard wins Album of the Year. Lead single, I Will Always Love You, wins Record of the Year. And the single version of A Whole New World, performed by Peebo Bryson and Regina Bell, wins Song of the Year, while Tony Braxton wins Best New Artist. And here we are in 2026. and Tony Braxton is on tour with Boys to Men and New Edition.
Indeed.
You know, I did not go to the concert. The very
Oh, did
first
they hit? They hit your hood already?
that was the first one was in
Oh
Oakland,
wow. Oh wow.
and I didn't go, and I had people hitting me up wondering where I was, and I was just like, on like a Wednesday or a Thursday night, this is gonna be a little hard for me. But I don't think I could actually improve upon my last New Edition concert where my friend's friend didn't have a ticket, wanted to get in. I had an extra, and I was like, "Yeah, she can totally use my ticket." And then we get there, and she gets a text from her auntie who says, "I can't make the show. Do you want my tickets?" And she's like, "Do you want to go to where my auntie was sitting?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't have any. We don't need to sit where I bought tickets. Second row."
That's so dope.
I almost was able to high five Michael Bivins. I was so
Should have
close.
jumped into the choreography, man. Started stepping.
But I have some really great pictures on my iPhone from that night to where they're like, "Oh my," you can actually see who these people are, and it's really
Right.
clear.
It's not just a blur. I mean,
So,
the New York show isn't until March. So I'm still kind of on the fence. Like I've seen New Edition enough times,
yeah.
but I've never seen Tony Braxton or Boys to Men before.
Yeah,
And I think it
Boys
would
to
be
Men would have been a fun one, but it's,
yeah.
like, for me and Crystal to try and go during the week, it's just too hard because her job is, she's in education, so she's very early and late
Oh,
early to bed, early to rise.
rise.
She can't really take a days off because she gets the entire summer off, so it'd have been too hard for us, but
I
anyways,
feel that.
Toni Braxton in 1994 Best New Artist, and she's still out there.
Still out there doing it.
All right, another sad one here. March 18th, Courtney Love calls the police, fearing that her husband, Kurt Cobain, is suicidal. Police confiscate 4 guns and 25 boxes of ammunition from Cobain's home. And 3 weeks later, his body is found. His death 3 day is legally declared to be suicide from self-inflicted gunshot.
Yeah, I want to say that that was the first major musician passing of my music industry career. Like I can remember walking into work, and obviously this is before cell phones, before the internet, before social media, before all that stuff. And I remember walking in for my afternoon shift at 3:30 and being told that Kurt Cobain had passed away.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I think everybody our age kinda remembers where they were when they heard that.
Yeah,
I mean, I was at school when I heard and just saw, a bunch of people who were very upset and sad, and so I heard from, classmates. So, yeah, very, very memorable time.
yeah, for sure.
So on, May 2nd, a Los Angeles jury finds Michael Bolton, along with co-writer Andy Goldmark
Ooh,
and Sony Music, guilty of copyright infringement over the song "Love Is a Wonderful Thing." The song is ruled to be too similar to a song by the same name by the Isley Brothers.
that is correct. Yes, I've just been reading a book about the Isley Brothers too, and just finished up that little portion. Um, yeah, I mean, Michael Bolton had to pay out the butt to Mr. Biggs.
What
Mm,
was your like? What are at the time? Do you remember? Were you a Michael Bolton fan?
I wasn't mad at Michael Bolton. So here's the thing: a lot of people don't understand about Michael Bolton. Old black women from the Caribbean love Michael Bolton. Like
Wow.
my grandmother and her friends, who would have been, in their 50s at the time, love Michael Bolton. A couple of years ago, so Labor Day is a big holiday in the Caribbean community. And in Brooklyn, they have all of these Labor Day concerts with all of these reggae artists reggae and soca artists that perform usually. And this was maybe 29. It was either 2019 or 2021, 2022. The headliner at one of those Caribbean Labor Day festivals in Brooklyn was Michael Bolton.
I always found him to be so corny.
Sure, but Lionel Richie's corny.
Lionel Richie's corny, but Lionel Richie also was on Motown and hanging out with Michael Jackson. Like Michael Bolton was just like, I don't know, the long hair. I just did not get him at all. And, he was very well pushed on MTV, so
Yes.
maybe that was part of it. It was like, "Why is this
Yeah.
dude always on MTV so much?"
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's an element of, you know, with Michael Bolton, there's an element of he succeeded in making a type of music that Black people have made for, eons and not gotten the same kind of push. Um, I think what his record company did was essentially sell him as like a skinny white Luther,
Mhm.
and his success, his commercial success, greatly outweighed the commercial level of commercial success that Luther had. I mean, Luther, I think, is certainly way more highly regarded,
Oh, yeah.
but Michael Bolton made more money, um, and that's certainly a bone of contention there. But I could put together a solid 10-song Michael Bolton playlist for you.
Yeah, and, like, 5 of them, I would cringe, and it would remind me of, like, when I was 17 and hating all of his songs. Um, okay, so May 6th, and this is something that I don't think has actually been resolved too much in the ticket industry. Pearl Jam files a complaint against
Mm,
Ticketmaster with the US Justice Department, charging that the company has a monopoly on the concert ticket business.
more things change, the more they stay the same.
Same old, same old. May 26th, Michael Jackson and Lisa Marie Presley are married in the Dominican Republic.
Yes, indeed.
That I remember that story and just being like, "What? Where did this come like, how? When?"
I mean, I think 32 years later, we're still trying to figure that out.
I
And it's crazy because by all accounts, like obviously Michael was coming off some allegations that were made that were very serious, and the what most people thought is that by marrying Lisa Marie Presley, he was trying to do some image rehab,
Yeah, like some PR
which
thing.
yeah, which I was always like, so what does Lisa Marie have to gain out of this?
Yeah,
Because it's not like he married some poor woman off the streets.
right,
He married a woman with as much money as he has.
right.
But even to this day, and Michael and Lisa Marie are both gone, but uh it appears to have been like a legitimate relationship.
And how I always understood it was that she understood what he was going through, being a
Right,
product of Elvis Presley.
right,
So that made sense when I read it that way for sure.
right.
But, probably wasn't the most conventional marriage of how we think marriage was.
And that's fine
Yeah.
if that's what works for you. And, they found each other and they were, apparently very much in love. And for whatever reason, things didn't work out. And an interesting thing that, through learning about Michael and other stuff is that apparently, even after they divorced, like they got back together a couple of times over the next few years. And, I think even when he was kind of having kids with other lady, Lisa Marie was still very much in the picture.
He couldn't quit her, man.
Hey,
Okay, so then, and this one will tie in very nicely to the discussion that we're gonna have. June 9th, Lisa Left Eye of TLC in a domestic dispute with partner Andre Rison sets fire to his shoes. The fire ultimately spreads to the mansion they share, and the mansion goes up in flames.
names.
I didn't realize that originally she just only set out to set his shoes on fire. Like,
Yeah.
y- I mean,
She wasn't trying to burn the whole crib down.
shoe game, even back in '94 was a pretty big deal.
Oh, if you were an NFL player, you had kicks.
Yeah, and he had played with Deion Sanders for several years, so I'm sure he had anything related to Nike that he could want. But this kicks off a rough time for Lisa because she's actually not on the album as much as they probably wanted her to be because she's got to be in programs and such, and they kind of let her out to do some recording, but she's not, free to just be available to do the thing. So kind of a rough time period for her. And I'm sure, if the thoughts are that, well, we didn't make any money off of our first album, like we got to get back in to take advantage of this. Like, they probably couldn't wait for her, right? Like, they're like, there's, like, a demand to get the next
Right.
TLC thing out there.
Right. Yeah, and also, time is finite, right? So had they even waited for her to finish the thing that she was doing, like who knows where the public would have been at that point. They would have been like, okay, it's been 3 years since the last TLC record. We've moved on. We're listening to SWV now.
Right. Alright, August 11th, a compact disc copy of Sting's album, 10 Summoners Tales, released the previous year, becomes the first item securely purchased over the internet.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That's amazing. 1994.
94. Hmm.
And it was 12.49 plus shipping and handling.
I mean, shipping and handling probably was like an arm and a leg back then.
Yeah, totally. Okay. So let's talk about the kind of the album, what they were trying to do. So,
Well, hold on. Just before we move forward, just from like a pop culture standpoint,
uh-huh.
also want to say like 94 was OJ, which I
Mm.
think for all of us in our age range
Mhm.
very much looms large in pop culture. Like I don't want to talk too much about it, but I do want to bring it up because I still remember. So I turned 18, and shortly after I turned 18, my New York Knicks ended up in the NBA Finals. They're playing the Houston
Oh
Rockets.
yeah.
Uh, this is game 5 or game 6. I can't remember which. I think it was game 6 because I distinctly remember like John Starks in the 2 for 19.
Mhm.
But at any rate, so my aunt and her husband take me out for my 18th birthday. We go to this restaurant in the village, Cafe Espanol, which I think still might still exist. They get me drunk on sangria. I get back home. So I'm living in an apartment with like 3 other dudes. We have like a 10-inch black and white TV. So it's already like a small TV. I'm trying to watch the Knicks, and it turns out the Knicks game is in a little tiny corner of the TV, while like the rest of the screen is on the ACOJ car chase. So it's weird because all of these incidents kind of like stack up on top of one another for me. So it's like the OJ uh, incident and arrest and all that stuff. The Knicks being in the NBA Finals for the first time in my lifetime. Like those things are just sort of weirdly tied together for me.
Yeah. And the it was now the way that kind of media works today, obviously with the internet and everything, much different back then.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
was like the lead story on every news, every radio thing.
Forever.
Howard Stern got so many months of content out of the OJ thing.
Hmm.
And just to show you how, like, interesting culture and media was back then, I think Al Michaels, he's gotta do, like, actual, like, news reporting on the thing, and Al Michaels knew OJ, he's, like, a friend of OJ's.
Hmm.
And so somebody calls in, and they're like, I forget whether what was, OJ what was the OJ's driver? What was his name?
Al
Al
Cowlings.
Cowlings. I don't remember if he said he was Al Cowlings or if he knew Al or something, so this guy calls up, and he's, like, explaining to Al Michaels about, something, and then he says the phrase, Baba Booey," which is the phrase of, "I'm a Howard Stern fan, and I am prank calling you."
Yeah,
And Al Michaels also knew Howard, so he had to then go, "Sorry, y'all, that was a prank call, that wasn't
Frank call.
real, that was someone who listens to the Howard Stern show." So, like, I that's, like, a part that I remember, and then you can fast forward a couple of years because I am on campus when when the whole thing comes out that he's not guilty.
Right.
And so, like, my campus is San Jose State University. John Carlos and Tommy Smith statues are on my campus because they both went to San Jose State.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So the fist in the air.
Hmm.
So that's how civic minded and civil rights minded San Jose State is historically. So you could imagine kind of the chaos on campus when OJ gets off. And just like kind of like a little bit of like kind of the feeling, obviously African American man, very famous. He's on trial for killing of his Caucasian wife. And me, I'm like, how is he not guilty? But at the same time, you understand kind of the social imbalance to the conversation. And so, what am I? I'm like, gosh, I'm probably like 20 years old at this point or something
Hmm.
like that, right? Like 2021 when all this stuff comes out. So that's like very also very
Very present.
memorable in my mind.
Yeah, yeah, for real. But yeah, for me, it's like you can't talk about 1994 and not talk about OJ.
Yeah. Okay. So, Ooh on the TLC tip comes out as we mentioned a couple years earlier, and they were young and brash and they were saying things that females didn't talk about on wax, which made them awesome. Safe sex, HIV, very positive. Left eye wearing condoms on her
The
face.
condom over her face. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so like that was the group. They were very young. They were presented as young and hip, not too different from like you said, Belle Biv DeVoe. This album, they kind of grow up. And it's a nice transition. Do you think they lose a little bit of that youthfulness in this making of this second album? Because I just talked to you off air. That first album is not better than this album, but it is more memorable to me because of how hip I thought that they were. And then they just became famous and like celebrities, so they weren't really the same. Like, what was your feeling on that whole thing?
I mean, I there is definitely an image shift, and I think Crazy Sexy Cool matured them. I wonder how much the absence of Left Eye affected that, because if you listen to the first album, every song on that album has Left Eye on it,
Mm-hmm.
except Baby Baby Baby. And Left Eye, I think, from an image standpoint, but also from like a vocal standpoint, brought like the youthful energy to it.
Yeah.
But also like R&B had changed, and you know, whereas their first album had like a big BBD influence, the second album was more kind of like down tempo, kind of had more like an SWV type of influence, where like the music was a little bit slower. It was a little bit more, the bass was popping a lot more. It was a little bit more melodic, less, you know, less noisy,
Mm-hmm.
kind of. So I don't know. I mean, I think qualitatively, Crazy Sexy Cool is a much better album
Yeah.
than the first one. Like, I only really go back and listen to like 4 or 5 songs from the first album. Um, but it's definitely, from an image standpoint, obviously they lost the condoms. They were dressing more, I guess, normal. I guess.
Five Dog does mention the condoms in
He does mention the
the
condoms.
intro of the album.
Yes, yes. But yeah, I mean, I think the image shift was deliberate, and it kind of, I think, worked in their favor because TLC was seen less as a rap group and more as an R&B group.
Yeah, and then in that sense, maybe Left Eye not being as available worked to the advantage of what they actually wanted.
Right, and it's funny because as we decided we want to talk about this album, I'm going back and listening, and my brain had it where Left Eye was only on like 2 or 3 songs, but she's on like half the album.
Mhm. Yeah, she's definitely on it. Her influence doesn't feel like on that first album, it felt like equal parts of the 3 women, and on this one, it's like Chilli, T-Boz, and then Left Eye is kind of out here a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I feel the same way.
Okay, so the producers, Dallas Austin, obviously, big piece of what they did.
Mhm.
Babyface on this album,
Mhm.
and, someone who we'll talk about a few more times, on this, Sean Puff Daddy Puffy Combs.
Did he produce anything other than the interludes?
So I have it that he is a part of this, but I also thought that maybe it was just that interlude, though, because there's those interludes are kind of a big part of the album, Busta Rhymes and such as well. So
Hmm,
those they are very well woven into it. So
yeah.
it probably is there is value there, but he also is the butt of the biggest joke on the entire album, which is, uh, T-Boz cold calling him
Oh, yes.
and faking it like
Mhm,
she's having an orgasm while
mhm.
he's trying to get him all hot and bothered,
Right.
and the joke is on him because she's really, in the bathroom on the
Yeah,
toilet.
she's taking care of some business.
And she
Yes,
laughs at the end while
yes.
he's all
I forgot about that
he's
scene.
ready to go, man.
Mm.
Um, okay, so Organized Noise also, on this one, for Waterfalls. Okay, so critical reception, Rolling
Oh,
Stone.
don't forget about JD.
Oh, is he on? Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
kick your game and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
switch.
yeah, yeah,
Yep.
for sure. Rolling Stone hailed them as the most successful R&B group since the Supremes. Uh, the peak, Billboard. Did this album not go number one?
It might not have. This is what, late 94, early 95, so it was all Hootie and the Blowfish.
That's right. Singles wise, they had two number ones, Creep and Waterfalls. Um, and then it's Diamond, certified diamond. So very successful.
Mhm.
And we'll talk about this a little bit more when we do the top five on the next episode. But as you went back and listened, was there anything that changed in your memory about like maybe the order of the songs that you liked or one song over the other, or is it pretty similar? Because you've listened to this album 100 times, I'm sure.
Man, listen, there was a period of time, so Crazy Sexy Cool and Mary J's My Life came out, I think, a week apart.
Oh wow.
And yeah, there was a period of time, I want to say like late 94 through like the middle of 95, when like every night I would just play those two albums back to back. So I've listened to Crazy Sexy Cool thousands of times. Um, yeah, I mean, nothing's really changed. The songs that I love, I still love. The songs that I don't love, I still don't love. But I'm glad that we live in an era now where I can program all the interludes out. But it's still like I still love it. It's still a really great record.
So as I was listening through, because to me, Waterfalls was so big, and again, just talking about the time frame, going back to the mid '90s, we have a CD player. You buy the CD, you listen to the CD front to back. Like that's just what you did.
Hmm.
Now, at some point, you may take some songs off the CD, put them on tape so you can make a mixtape. I think by the end of I think by '98, I actually had a double CD player where I could make mixed CDs. It was not easy, but I
Wow.
could do it. But still, in the mid
Okay.
'90s, we're making mixtapes,
Right.
and so when you're listening, and this is what I would love to do this when I was younger. I would listen to the CD all the way through, and I would go, okay, let me see if I can predict the next singles off of this thing.
Mm.
And I got really good with certain albums. Like I remember Casey and JoJo, All My Life, which was not the first single on that
It was the
album.
third single.
I when I first bought I was a big Jodeci dude, so I bought that thing like right when it came out. And I was like, okay, they got to release this song because this song is amazing. And then All My Life just becomes like the biggest song of that year,
Yeah.
or whatever. But for the same thing, when I first heard Waterfalls, I was like, they got to release this thing. Like this is the best thing on the album. And I was just like, it's got to happen. And then it comes out and it blows
It
up.
was huge. Yeah.
It was so big.
Yeah, I mean, I identified that song as just like a great song from the beginning.
Yeah.
That was probably my favorite track on the album. Although weirdly, it is, well, when we do our top fives, you'll see what I mean. Um, But yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was going to be as big as it was. I knew it was a good song. I didn't hear pop hit. And I think the video obviously helped it a great deal in that regard as well. But,
The
I mean, it's
choreography, very
yeah,
memorable.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, everything from like from the little vignettes that they match with each verse in the video. Shout out Shaheem, who's the rugged child rapper who was in that video, affiliated with Wu Tang. Um, but everything from the choreography to the special effects by Gary Gray, like all that stuff, just sort of made it put the song in the right visual light for it to be like a hit.
Most memorable Left Eye
Rap,
rap?
maybe. I mean, Left Eye. I would say Left Eye is kind of underrated as a rapper. Um, her stuff was always interesting, maybe a little weird. But again, like Waterfalls is just a great song, like top to bottom.
Yeah,
CeeLo Green sings the chorus with them on that song.
he does. That
Yeah.
that was in my, little piece of trivia here, but
Hey,
you beat me to
I
it.
beat you to it.
Hey, and I'm all good with that.
Huh.
Um, okay, so we'll do our little Grammys redux here. So
Mhm.
1996 Grammys, because this album comes out in '94, but it's not until the end of '94.
Right.
So it's not a part of the '95 Grammys, it's actually part of the '96 Grammys. The 2 awards they win are Best R&B Performance by Duo or Group, for Creep, and then Best R&B Album. The other ones I wanted to redo here, Record of the Year. Nominees are Kiss from a Rose by Seal, One Sweet Day, Mariah and Boyz II Men, Gangsta's Paradise, One of Us by Joan Osborne. Obviously, the producers are all this is they're all
Yeah.
involved in this, and then Waterfalls, which Organized Noise is the producer on it. What did you think of those nominations? And I'm sure you remember who won this one.
Yeah. Blah. Seal won the award. Kiss
Seal
from a
won the
Rose
award.
won the award. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Waterfalls to me is the best song. I've never liked Gangsta's Paradise. That's probably a hot take for some people. Um, I don't think I've listened to One Sweet Day. Actually, I listened to One Sweet Day at a memorial service last year, and prior to that, I don't think I'd listened to it in 20 years.
Well, I mean, based on the listening to the radio in this time frame, you probably heard it a
You could not
million
avoid it.
times.
Yeah, seriously, seriously. I mean, that whole Mariah album. But yeah, One Sweet Day is locked in my memory forever. But it's very stuck in that time for me. Whereas Waterfalls, like I can still play today and jam to it.
Yeah.
So that would have been my pick.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. Gangsta's Paradise is so outdated and so tropey, and I think some of it has to do with whether or not you like Dangerous Minds, which is an interesting movie looking back. I recently rewatched it, but
Ooh,
I did. I rewatched
all right.
it. And but I do like it doesn't. I mean, it's a takeoff of Pastime Paradise. So when I
I
listen to
see. Right.
Gangsta's Paradise, I think of Pastime Paradise, and I want to
Yeah.
throw Pastime's Paradise on.
Yeah, it just makes me want to listen to songs in the key of life.
Yeah. Okay, and then the other one, best pop performance by a duo or group with vocals. And here are the nominees: "Let Her Cry" by Hootie and the Blowfish, "I Can Love You Like That," all for one, baby.
Wow.
Love
Wow.
Love Will
There's a
Keep
throwback.
Yeah, Love Will Keep Us Alive by the Eagles, "I'll Be There for You," the Rembrandts, which is the Friend song,
Mhm.
and "Waterfalls" by TLC.
Who won that category? Uh, it wasn't Hootie.
It was Hootis and the
It was? It was
Blowfishers,
Hootie and the Blowfish?
yes.
Oh, all right. Go ahead, Darius Rucker. Um, I mean, most people don't I would assume most people listening don't know it, but that Eagles song is very, very good. It's very pretty. Um, I probably would have given it to that or TLC. But I've never been a big Hootie fan, so I understand that they were huge. I never really understood why they were huge.
They
Um,
were like the 1994 version of Huey Lewis and the News.
yeah, that makes sense. That makes
And
sense. But to me, like Huey Lewis is so charismatic
yeah,
and like Darius Rucker is not.
I mean, yeah, he's a little square,
Mhm.
but I don't know, I think he has a likability about him.
Sure, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
My high school prom, my senior prom, All for One, I Swear is the song.
Man,
I I don't like I mean, they're very similar, the country version and then their version, but didn't you say that there was a reason why there are two versions of that song? Were you the one who had the story about the All for One doing I Swear as well?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's basically like I think at that time there was, somebody was like, "Hey, this is a country hit. Maybe you should make like a pop R&B version of it." And all when we're like, "Bet," and they just did it. But there's a bunch of songs from that era, like "Nobody Knows" by Tony Rich, where there's a country version that was a hit. "Back at One" by Brian McKnight, where there was a
Man.
country version where there was a hit. Um, and "I Can Love You Like That" also was originally a country song, and then All for One remade it, and it became a pop hit.
Okay. So you mentioned the CeeLo Green piece of the trivia. I mentioned
Mm.
Fife Dog. He's in one of the interludes. I
Bus
did
a Bus.
Bus a Bus is also in one of the interludes.
Mm.
I didn't know this. Left Eye originally hated the song "Creep" because it discussed a woman cheating to get back at a cheating partner. She threatened to wear black tape over her mouth in the video in protest.
I mean, whatever. I mean, so many TLC songs are about cheating.
Okay, let's talk about the bankruptcy piece of this because in 1995 they declared bankruptcy, and some of it I know some of it has to do with uh Pebbles Management Production Company. They kind of leased the group to LaFace, so now there was like more people taking money out of the overall sales, and I think what did they say? Something like they were getting like 50 cents an album and they had to like split it 3
Three
ways or something like
ways.
that?
Something like that.
Yeah, so break that down and how it works and why it works like that.
So, I mean, there's a few different things at play here. One is the fact that they were signed to the label through a management company. And when you're signed to a label through a management company, basically the label's not paying you your royalties. The management company is. The label is paying. So LaFace was paying Pebbles, who was then paying TLC.
So this is very similar to the New Edition and
I
one
was just about to
right.
say it's very similar to New Edition and Jump and Shoot.
Our first podcast we talked about this.
Yeah, where MCA is paying Jump and Shoot, who is then paying New Edition. So that's one thing. Second thing is every cent that you make when you put out a record is recoupable, and you're basically the label is recouping against all of the money that they spend on you. So if the label gives you an advance, you got to pay that shit back. If you make a video and the video is expensive, that comes out of your budget. Everything that you do samples, and that first TLC album has a million samples. So I would imagine that LaFace probably paid a lot of money in sample clearance. So it kind of makes sense to me that they did not make any money off of that first album at
Mhm.
all. Um, the second album, it does feel like maybe they got jerked a little bit. And I don't know, LaFace was clearly doing some funny stuff because Tony Braxton went bankrupt like right after.
Right.
It was kind of like their artist roster was, having some janky stuff done. But, it's the music industry is a predatory industry. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. It's been well documented for 75 years at this point that, you know, the artist is usually the person that comes out of something the least. But you also think like, how much is a label making off of the sale of an album? So if a record is on sale at the record store for 11.99 or
Mhm.
12.99, the label makes $6 or $7 off that. And again, you're not just paying the artist, you're paying the people at the plant who press the CDs and the cassettes. You're paying the marketing people who work on the marketing plans for the album. You're paying the radio staff who are promoting your records at radio. You're doing all this stuff. So this money is all going up a bunch of different ways. So when the artist finally gets their cut, it's not going to be necessarily a huge cut. And then they get taxed on that and they have to pay off their debt to the label. So, I mean, and this is not an exclusive issue to TLC, but the reality is in the old major label system, it was very hard for any artist that wasn't, even if you were selling millions of records, to make significant money. Where you made your money was off of tour. Um, and I mean, that's a whole different story. I know off the first album, TLC was on tour with like MC Hammer and Boys to Men and
Mhm.
whatever. So I don't know how much money they made from that, but I think the Crazy Sexy Cool tour they headlined. So I mean, that should have put a little bit of money in the bank for them.
The idea of the album, like, 'cause, we as music fans think of the album as like, "Oh, man, like, this is a thing that we treasure, and we listen to it, and this is, like, the substance of the thing." But in a sense, it should literally, I mean, if you are successful, it should literally just be marketing for your tour where you
Right.
actually make the
Where you
majority
make the
of
money.
money.
Right.
And you see that with a lot of old successful artists, like Bruce Springsteen. He'll record some records. He's recorded a new song recently,
Right.
um, and about Minneapolis and Ice. I wanted to mention that.
Right.
I think people listening to us probably knew what, but just in case.
Yes.
Um, and so, like, he has successfully, like, created a business out of him being the product, but also his fans just wanting to see him live every 5 years or whatever it is. Now he's getting a little older, so I don't know how much he actually tours anymore.
I
But
mean, he still tours quite a bit. I would imagine that's going to ramp down at some point in the relatively near future. He's in his 70s.
you see folks like Billy Joel selling out Madison Square Garden like X number of times.
Yeah.
Like there is a timing aspect of this and a marketing aspect, but the albums in of itself, like Billy Joel's not coming out with new music. He's got this like treasure trove of songs. And even if he came out with a new album, the fans who are going to see those concerts, they care about the
They
hits.
want to hear Uptown Girl and
Right.
Piano Man. They don't want to hear your new joint. I mean, I read an interview, and I know I brought them up a few times this episode. I read an interview with SWV, and Coco was like, "Why are we gonna make a new album? Like, it's gonna cost us money, and then y'all ain't gonna buy it."
Yeah, man. They can do, week at the
Whereas
beginning and week at the
they can
end,
right,
and
they can go on tour and do "I'm So Into You" week and right here. And, actually, I saw them a couple of years ago. They were very good. But they can do their hits and charge for it and make money and, call it a day.
the um the one who and we I don't know if we're going to necessarily talk about these guys when it comes to a specific album, but if not, we'll do a sidebar conversation of the cool check-in about them. But
Right.
the new kids are very interesting because they have done both. They have tried to come out with new music, and they have, like, maybe made, like, a single just to kind of remind people that
Or be like, hey, we're here.
but the
Yeah.
single may often be thematic to whatever tour that they're doing. Like, they did that
Right.
one song with Salt and Peppa and a bunch of the older
Yeah.
groups.
80s,
Yeah,
80s baby.
'80s Baby,
Yeah.
but that was also setting up the tour that they were kicking off. So I thought that was actually pretty smart. Like you're not
Yes.
using the song necessarily to sell a ton of copies. You're just using it to go, hey, come see. I'm surprised they didn't put the tour dates at the end of the song. Um, but like that's like
It's good marketing.
yeah, that's really smart. And for them, they're still a very successful touring act, but
Hmm.
nobody has really thought about the new kids from a buying album perspective in
Nobody's
years.
going to buy a new Kids album except for like me.
Yeah, and me. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
buy it too. Yeah, I think I bought the the right stuff. What's the album? Is that the album? What is it called?
What, the last album that they put out?
No, 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 the second album.
Hanging Tough?
Hangin' Tough, yeah.
Yeah.
I bought the Hangin' Tough album on vinyl because it had, like, a picture disc on it, and there
Oh,
was,
yeah.
like, some remixes that like, it's just like, "Oh, I'm just of course I need to own this."
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, but just this idea of the album being the end all be all, like, I think as we were growing up, like, that's what we thought. That is not actually
Right. That's not
where the
actually the
music
case.
industry where it sits for art. Yeah, that's the album.
By the
There you
way,
go.
yeah.
There you go. That's the one I got. So, alright. So they have these money issues, and then I did you hear about, did they really do this? I have this in my notes, but, again, we're we're researching the internet. Um, did they do a sit-in at Clive Davis's office?
I mean, the story I recall hearing is that they went into Clive's office and somebody pulled a gun on him.
Damn.
I think Lisa came in with her goons, if I remember the story correctly.
Damn, Lisa.
And yeah, um, and also, I guess adding to like the money woes is the fact that T-Boz was sick through a
Yes,
lot of this.
yes,
And I would imagine that those doctor bills, like musicians don't have insurance. I would imagine those bills were very, very expensive.
yes, and, the mansion burning thing, you know,
Mm.
my, so I don't know if you probably aren't too familiar with Shaquille O'Neal's, rap albums,
Nope.
but there's a lyric on one of his songs where he goes, "Andre Rison, house on fire," and my buddy, we were at work one day we were working for Blockbuster Video, and we're in the back, and we're talking to the manager, and our manager, his house had just caught on fire.
Oh
Like,
no.
I think they saved a lot of it, but there was, like it was, like, a real thing, like, a real crazy thing that had happened, and so I knew this because I'd gotten to work and I'd talked to him about it, and my buddy, he was coming in later than me, and he did not know about any of this stuff.
I know
So
where this is
so he
going.
comes in, and he starts rapping some Shaq lyrics. He's like, "Andre Rison, house on fire," and my manager, Anthony, he just looks at him and he goes, "Yeah." Like, he thought he was asking him about the thing, and my buddy was just rapping Shaquille O'Neal lyrics.
I don't want to laugh at that. Oh gosh.
By the way, I probably haven't seen Anthony in 30 years, so how old would I have been? Yeah, that's probably about right, about 30 years. Uh,
Anthony, hope you're watching or listening.
yeah, yeah, I hope he's doing well. He was a really cool dude. Okay, so post Crazy Sexy Cool, there is a 5-year break in between this album and Fan Mail, and I know some of it was kind of, getting all of these things figured out.
Right.
Um, they themselves as a group were having issues with each other because of all the stress that we've been talking about with Lisa, with T-Boz being ill. And so, they're kind of like feuding in a way in the public a little bit. And you remember when Left Eye said that we should all create a solo disc and put it into one album and sell the album as like our 3 solo discs, which was kind of ahead of its time because Outkast does that eventually, even though they didn't do it because they were feuding.
Right.
They did it because they knew that if they sold their solo joints as Outkast, it would sell better than if it was Andre 3000 or
And Big Boy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right. So,
And shout out to Andre 3000 who's on Crazy Sexy Cool.
he
Yep.
is. So, I sort of felt around this time that T-Boz and Chilli were kind of united, and Left Eye was kind of outside of their inner circle. Like, they knew, like, they needed the stability, and Left Eye was not stable, and maybe they just weren't getting along. But I know after the fact, they kinda said, "We were sisters," and that's, so it's like inner fighting with your family. But,
Right.
Fan Mail comes out in 1999, and I remember I was in college, and I was reading I think it was Vibe magazine, and just talking about all of the turmoil and all of the frustration and
Mhm.
why it took so long. And the theme of fan mail is literally like, you've been with us through all this time, like, we're reading your fan mail, like, thank you kind of album. But in a
Right.
way, because it's 1999 and they're trying to use like a technology theme and the internet and all this,
It's
that
it's a little
album
dated.
sounds more dated than the other 2
Crazy
albums.
Sexy Cool does, yeah,
Yeah.
it really does. I mean, it's not a bad album, but it does. And, talking about Vibe magazine, uh, the first TLC cover was them on the cover in
Oh,
firemen's
oh,
outfits.
yeah.
Yep.
I remember that one. I remember
Yep.
paging through that one going like, "Wait a second here, what is going on?
Yep.
That why don't they have shirts on in this photo?"
That's right. That is
You know
correct.
what though? Their reasoning for doing it was like, we wanted to promote that even if like you didn't have to have this like insanely fake body to be like happy with your body. Like that was kind of the reason why they said that they did it, which I always found to be, yeah, pretty smart and kind of
Yeah.
fitting to their theme of who they
I mean,
were and what they
they're
promoted.
feminists.
Yeah.
They're feminine. TLC also stands for Tittyless Crew.
Exactly. They would make fun of themselves in that way quite often
Yes.
over the years.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about Lisa's passing, and then we'll go back to some of the questions that I had because you can't talk about the group without talking about Lisa and her unfortunate passing in 2002. She was in Honduras on a spiritual retreat. She had some family with her, and they were actually like documenting her journey. I don't know if they were planning on putting something out for her, but they actually had footage, and that footage did eventually come out at some point a
Mhm.
few years later.
Mhm.
But she was driving, um, and she was avoiding an automobile, swerved, and then turned again to avoid a vehicle, and her SUV went off the road, flipped and rolled, and hit some trees. And she was the only person who passed away in the incident. I think she had like broke her neck and like head trauma,
Yeah.
but she passes away at the age of 30. And again, man, I remember like where I was when I heard that information, like just so crazy to think that at the age of 30, Lisa was gone.
Right. Right. I actually it's one of the few like big celebrity passings where I don't remember where I was.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So uh she passes in what was it? Like what is I'm trying to do the math, like 7 months after Aaliyah?
Yes, well, yeah. Aaliyah was September '01
Yeah.
or August
August,
'01.
August '01.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right before her album comes out on 9/11, I think, right?
No, her album was out.
Okay.
It had been out for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why I think of 9/11 when I think of her album.
Glitter came out on 9/11.
And, volume 2.
Yeah, that's oh, no, Blueprint.
Blueprint. No, you're right, Blueprint,
Yeah.
Blueprint. Um, and I think Babyface
Yeah, the Face to
also
Face
that
record.
day?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause I was on I was on a business trip the day before 9/11. Flew out to Houston for work, was stuck in Houston until the weekend,
Oh, wow.
and couldn't and my
You had
I
2
had,
babies at that point.
like, a two-year-old and a one-year-old,
Yeah.
and then so what do you do when you're just of course, I bought all of those CDs and, like,
Right.
on the plane ride home, just listen to all of them because what the heck else are you gonna do
Yeah, what are you gonna
in
do? Right.
2001?
Yeah, I mean,
Read
look,
and
dude,
listen to music.
I was in New York City, and I was working in a record store, uh, and it was a major release day, and people were still coming in and buying records. Like we didn't close until like 1 o'clock in the afternoon that day, so we had like a solid 3 or 4 hours of being able to sell stuff, and people were coming in.
Yeah, that talk about memorable days.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just have a couple of questions here, and we'll get out of here.
Okay.
Of course, we got to go. What's your no skip rating for Crazy Sexy Cool?
I'm gonna give Crazy Sexy Cool an 8.
Okay.
I think if you program out the interludes,
You
and
gotta keep the Fife Dog one in there, though.
I'm fine with that,
Yeah.
and then take out "If I Was Your Girlfriend," which is a Prince cover, which is awful. Um, the rest of the album is very good, so I give it an 8.
Yeah, I was thinking 7, 7.5 for me.
Okay.
Um, who was okay, so going back to this idea of Left Eye's, challenge, her 3 CD set of all 3 of them going solo. If one of them or if they all went solo, who do you think was, like, the most marketable to actually create a career going solo? Because I don't think there's a good argument for either of the 3, but who was the best who had the best chance, do you think?
I agree with you. I don't think there's an argument for any of the 3. I don't think TLC is like New Edition where, there are multiple front people in the group. I think TLC works as TLC and nothing else. And Left Eye made a solo album
Yes.
that ended up not getting released in the US, but I bought it as an import. It is not good. T-Boz made a couple of solo records, a couple of singles. Um,
Didn't she do one with Mac 10?
I don't know if she did a record with Mac 10. I know
Were they
she was on a
dating?
I think they were married.
They're oh, okay. Okay, they're
Yeah.
married.
Um, they were. I think they've been long since divorced. But she did a record with the Brat. She had this song called "Touch Myself," which
Oh,
was
I
really
remember that one.
popular.
I remember that
Yeah,
one.
I mean, if any of the 3 had a chance, I think it really like having a career by themselves, it would have been T-Boz. But I don't really think any of them like had that thing.
Uh, Chili, from a looks perspective, is probably the easiest one to market because she was just so cute and attractive.
Right.
Personality-wise, even, I thought she had, like, a really quirky, funny personality to her, but she was probably best singing hooks, right?
Yeah. And also, before we go, I want to give a shout out to Deborah Killings, who was part of like the LaFace stable and sang background vocals on every single one of those TLC records. Like, I mean, respect to T-Boz and Chili, but they're neither one of them is the strongest
Right.
vocalist.
Right.
And I think Deborah Killings really held it down on a lot of those records. So shout out to her.
And if what is she still in that field?
She's still in the business. She's in her 60s now. She's also a bass player. So I'm pretty sure she played the bass line of Miss Jackson, and like a lot of the LaFace records. So even though LaFace doesn't exist as an entity anymore, I think she's still kind of out there with some of those artists.
Shout out. Shout out to
Yeah,
Deborah. Okay, last question here. 2002, obviously these are unanswerable, kind of just hypotheses kind of questions.
sure.
Left Eye does not go to Honduras, and she does not pass away in this accident. Do you think even at that point TLC could have gotten the band back together and created the rightful sequel to Fan Mail or to Crazy Sexy Cool, as far as like, is there a market for them as a threesome in their early to mid 30s to continue to be making music?
I don't think so. I think there would have been a fall off. Um, you know, and even with Left Eye passing away, that next album, 3D, did not sell very well. Um, I think times just changed, and the market wasn't like great for them anymore. Uh, so, and there weren't groups by the time like 2002 rolled around. There weren't really groups like TLC anymore. There weren't singing groups that had like a rapper in them. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I just think maybe they would have morphed into more of like a conventional singing group. But I also don't think that like huge audience would have been there for them anymore. They would have moved on. They did move on.
I guess we could kind of quickly mention um Left Eye's influence outside of just being in TLC. What was the group that she had worked with?
Ah, Black.
Black, yes.
Yeah,
Black did a very memorable and fun song with NSYNC as well,
Instinct. Mhm.
which, you still hear every once in a while.
Yeah, Bring It All to Me is a dope record.
Yeah, yeah, so I just wanted to mention that she
Well,
was.
I mean, she's there. JC, I think, is the only
Yeah, yeah,
person
yeah,
in sync on that record.
he's on it.
Yeah,
He's the one, he's the main voice on it for sure.
and I
So,
mean, Left Eye is, I think, the only rapper to ever appear on an In Sync album.
what song is she on?
There's a song on No Strings Attached called Space Cowboy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, okay. There you go.
yeah,
Like, thinking about, and this is back before I think we really talked seriously about mental health. She kind of lived that moniker of, like, being the crazy one of the group, right? Like,
right.
that was kind of her personality, but there was definitely stuff going on with her, and
100%. She
and
talked about it.
yeah, and, that's one of the things where we when we look back on this stuff, and I was just thinking about Amy, our Amy Winehouse episode,
Mm,
where, there's some the what I hope at least is today we have more education and more therapy and things where some of these things can actually come out, and they don't have to end in the way that they have in the past. So as we kind of do this thing where we look back, it's like, oh man, I wonder if Lisa was here today going through those same problems. I would hope that she would have more help.
I mean, I think that if she was still alive, she'd be speaking out about a lot of this stuff. I mean, she was very vocal about coming from like an abusive alcoholic home. She certainly encountered domestic violence in her relationship with Andre Rison. All this stuff, and she was vocal about it even then. I think she'd be, and one of the things that drove her to Honduras was kind of going through this holistic
Yeah.
healing and Dr. Sabi and like all this other stuff. So she was ahead of the curve on all of that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, for sure. All right. That's going to be it on this episode. Our top five will be out in a couple of days. So look out for that. And we're going to focus on our favorite TLC songs
Yeah.
and a little bit about some of the other albums as well. All right. So 50 for 50.net. Check it out where you can find all of our stuff. So for Mike, I am Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.